Got the video. Amazing, great. It doesn't really matter right now. Yeah, so like, that's not the right one. Let's get rid of that. This guy's first, right? Sam?
Yep. Sam's first.
Sam's first.
And then the
Right. Beautiful. And right. So let's zoom in a little bit here. Backwards. Video game controls, right?
And someone comes in the flag.
Okay. So let's start with that. And when the time comes, we'll just share Sam's presentation. Okay? Amazing. All right.
We got 3 minutes.
Yeah, rushing is on time. This is great. Okay. Let's hop back in. Yeah.
Someone comes in the flag. When I finished
So where's your work? You're not gardening.
No, okay. We're almost. So the conference, I'll go break. And there's actually, I want to go. That's, there's, and like, so we put that it, and then. So, like, we're gonna start like, then we're gonna move up. And then, yeah. Oh, yeah, there's your, and then, rock, everything, and, but that's, I love it, like, right? No. And so we're gonna.
Yeah.
Is it a dinner? Is it a dinner? Don't think.
She'll have a big one.
Yes. Yeah.
Should I go and sit?
You will sit there.
Okay, I'll sit here for a minute,
Okay.
and then once you introduce me, I'm gonna go. What's your name?
Debates.
Debates.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's actually the yoke probably one of the question after that. And so it's back to
Yes. On to the okay. And once. Hi, everyone. We'll start now. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to start this session with the land and labor acknowledgements. First, I'll start with the land acknowledgements. We acknowledge that the lands on which Memorial University's campuses are situated are in the traditional territories of diverse indigenous groups, and we acknowledge with respect the histories and culture of the Beothuk, Mi'kmaq, Innu, and Inuit of this province. As a tradition that we've been practicing through the entire day, I'll just give you a moment to reflect on this, and then I'll move on with the labor acknowledgement. Labor acknowledgement. We encourage everyone to reflect on the lands where you are located and the indigenous peoples for whom these lands are traditional territory. We acknowledge the egregious labor theft extracted from people of African descent used to build European wealth and economies globally and in the Canadian nation state, including Newfoundland and Labrador's shipbuilding and cod fishery industries, through the violence of transatlantic enslavement. We are committed to address institutional anti-Black racism and Black inclusion through Black people's leadership. we pledge to keep the lights on to uplift the memories and spirits of those gone before us and others yet unfertilized for the generations. My name is Dipesh Paudel. I'd like to welcome you all again to this policy research and ethics session. I'm a PhD candidate in the Faculty of Business Administration, and my research centers around social value creation for the marginalized. I'd like to invite you to this session, both in person and online. I'd like to tell you that this session is being recorded, and I would like to now take this opportunity to introduce our panelists. Our first panelist is Sam Nakhla. Sam is an associate professor in mechanical engineering, Faculty of Engineering Applied Sciences, and cross-appointed to emergency medicine, Faculty of Medicine at Memorial University. He earned both his MSc and PhD in aerospace engineering from Georgia Institute of Technology in 2004 and 2008, respectively. His applications in aerospace, mechanical, and biomedical engineering. His research in these areas is funded by Natural Sciences and Engineering Research Council, Suncor Engineering, Bombardier, Research and Development Corporation, and Memorial University. Prior to joining Memorial in 2013, he was a postdoctoral fellow in the School of Aerospace Engineering at Georgia Institute of Technology. He is a native of Egypt with roots near Egypt-Sudan border. In his youth, he participated in African sporting events, All Africa Games, tracks, and field. Welcome, Sam. Unfortunately, we do not have Anna Maria with us right now. She is not able to join us today. I'll first quickly introduce other panelists, and then I'll hand it over to Sam. Next with us is Farshad Amini. Farshad is a PhD candidate at the Memorial University. With a background in general management, Farshad has a keen interest in exploring social inclusion, diversity, and community empowerment. His current research focuses on utilizing participatory action research combined with backcasting frameworks to address social exclusion, and discrimination in diverse communities. Farshad is committed to bridging theory and practice, leveraging his research insights to inform policy and community development initiatives. He's passionate about promoting dialogue and collaboration among diverse stakeholders and create positive social change. Welcome, Farshad. Our third panelist, Bukola Salami, currently holds the rank of full professor in the Department of Community Health Sciences, Cummings School of Medicine, University of Calgary. Professor Salami's research program focuses on policies and practices shaping migrant health as well as Black people's health. She has been involved in over 90 funded studies totaling over $230 million. She founded and leads the African Child and Youth Migration Network, a network of 42 scholars from 4 continents. She led the establishment of Institute of Intersectional Studies at the University of Alberta. She has presented her work to policymakers, including the House of Commons Standing Committee on Health. Her work has contributed to policy change, including that related to Black people's well-being. She is an editor for the Canadian Journal of Nursing Research and associate editor of the Canadian Medical Association Journal. She is an advisory board member of the CIHR Institute of Human Development, Child, Youth, Health, and Scientific Advisory Committee on Global Health to the Government of Canada. Welcome, Bukola. I would like to now invite our first panelist, Sam, and just letting you know, we'll open the questions to the floor as well as to the online group once we're done with all the panels. Thank you and welcome, Sam.
So it's a pleasure. That thing about track and field was about 30 to 40 years ago. So no, I'm not that good. Anyway, so the discussion today is about equity, diversity, and inclusion, but in particular related to federal funding in Canada. So, well, I self-identify as he, him. I'm of African descent and person with disability. So the disability is not noticeable, but my right hand is a cup holder. That's as much as it is. Only the thumb is good. So I can. Anyway, the trigger, then we're going to talk about the trigger, Canadian effort from the perspective of funding. And then we're going to discuss how is the USA, because we got to compare to our neighbors, and what's going to happen in the future or the hopes for the future. So the trigger was the General Assembly of the United Nations when they did the report in 2017. And I'm not going to dwell on that because you can go ahead and read what's in it. It was not all nice, but right away in 2018, the Tri-Agency EDI Action Plan was released 2018 to 2025. And those are defined, the Canadian Institute for Health, TIHR, Natural Science and Engineering Research Council, INSERC, and Social Science, Humanities Research and Council of Canada, SHERC. And in here, the applicants started self-identifying as members of minority groups. There are courses now available. One of them is from the government, is about gender-based analysis plus, and the other is bias in peer review, and that's released by the Tri-Agency Fund, by the Tri-Agency itself. What's amazing, and I believe this is what sheds the light on any progress that may happen, is the statistical tools provided by all the Tri-Agency, all the three agencies, Tri-Agency. So I'm going to use here the INSERC as an example, given the fact that I was involved and somehow with filtering this data for the Canadian Society of Mechanical Engineering when I was sitting on their panel, or with the Canadian Society for Composites. So here you go with the biggest, or not the biggest, the most important funding provided by INSERC, which is a discovery grant. And we can see that they have, can I use this as a pointer? Okay, that they have identified the 4 minority groups of the focus. We're going to talk about the top left is by gender. So we can see women versus men. And the right here, top right, is indigenous. Bottom left, minority, visible minority, and bottom right is people with disability. The observation from here is Black are missing. So, because that's my focus, kind of. I'm not here. So, but let's go and see something else. So the first group identified here, we can see 25%, 35% for visible minority, but when it comes to indigenous and people with disability, we're going to drop down to 1% or 3%. And that's pretty low. I'm not saying that those people are not granted their applications. Okay, can I use the mouse? Here you go. Like that. Can you come here, but just make it editable first. Okay. So here you go. No, this is mine. Yes, in the middle. Don't close it. Click on it. Enable editing, and then try to share again. Yeah.
Can you go to the next slide? Again,
Good.
it's moving down. Thank you.
Okay. So I was talking about these here, and let me start the laser pointer from the PowerPoint. This is very tough space. Anyway, so the gender and minority status were in the 24 or 30%. This is not perfect, but maybe it's okay. But when we look at the indigenous and people with disability, we drop down to 1% or 3%, and Black is missing. So then if we go and check what's happening with minority as women across whether discovery or research partnership, that's industry partnership, or talent and training, that's PhD or master's, we're going to see the percentages here are 23% or 29% or 20%, but it jumps to when supporting education for scholarship for students, it goes up to the 40s, which is good. We go to visible minority, and it's almost similar. It's not the same, but it's about 25% to 30% across discovery or research partnership with industry or academic scholarships. Comes persons with disability, and we see that the percentage drops to 3%, and that's overall across all. So indigenous, it goes to a fraction of a percent, and Black is non-existent. There is no stats there. That's so far, at least there is something that we can look at and we start from. It's not the best, but at least they started exactly in 2018, as soon as the report was released. Well, Canadian effort, there is another thing that happened in 2021, which is the call for action by the Privy Council of Canada. And that was addressing public service leaders, identifying that the need for appointment of Indigenous and Black employees, sponsor high potential Indigenous employees and Black as well, support participants, Indigenous and Black, recruit candidates, Indigenous and Black. And that's to show commitment, combating, enabling, including, and measuring. That's all in all was released in 2021, and we could see the impact of that. I need to move this a little bit. Okay. In 2021, right away, started some universities, we can see an advertisement for hiring faculty positions. For example, McGill and Dalhousie were among the first universities that would go and have an announcement, we're hiring, but we limit the position to only those groups, Indigenous and Black. And that was in engineering. I wasn't looking outside. I simply look always in my field. Sure. And it's stuck. Okay. Then we can see that there is some support from INSERC, and that's for undergraduate students. It's $5,000, but it's a start. So as well on top of the PhD and the master's support. But in here, when an applicant self-identify as Indigenous or Black, would automatically qualify, but must meet the minimum requirement. Comes other undergraduate bursaries. For example, at Memorial, we have 5 awards that set the priority for Indigenous and Black. Actually, it's about $3,000, but set the priority for women, visible minority, Indigenous, and people with disability, but no Black. So we have about 20% of our student population in engineering are coming from Africa. They are Black. So there is no priority in here. There is hope though. So what happens in the US? So in the US, I started my graduate studies in 2000, and I could see appointment, sponsor, support, recruit. Everything that we have in that action plan by the Privy Council was there when I went in 2000. Personal examples for me, I got my funding for my PhD through Georgia Space Grant Consortium, and Georgia Space Grant Consortium is a part of the Space Grant Consortium. It's a NASA-funded program all over the United States. They have branches in each and every state, and they support students from diverse backgrounds into the STEM fields. Then, when I finished, I continued as a PDF with them, and then had funding from the US Office of Naval Research, as also as of African descent, and concluded with research engineer. So the university had a policy or an idea not to hire their own, so they waived that because I'm of African descent. I moved to Canada just for an entirely different set of reasons. I'm almost done. So the thing is, all these, so in particular, the Georgia Space Grant Consortium, I get the funding as a PhD, but I spend the summer on summer camps, outreach to the projects, where I have to work with, high school, middle school kids, maybe preparing for their SATs, maybe with basketball. I was horrible, but I still had fun with them. So we did a program to simply train them how to use CAD, engineering CAD, and build a model airplane, aerospace. Build a model airplane and pilot it through an iPhone. That was a fantastic project, and they loved it. Many of those students came to aerospace engineering years later. So that was the advantage. You get something, but you have to pay in return. In conclusion, what I want to say, the future in Canada, we should continue to fully implement the Privy Council's call for action, update the tri-agency action plan to include Black. I prefer the term African descent, but as a matter of fact, I don't know. I don't see any other minority called by their color of skin. So that's why I don't like it. I'm not. So somebody told me that I'm not Black, I'm cappuccino. I'm okay with that. I like cappuccino. So invest in bridging programs, which is simply pay back to the society. So do the outreach, or maybe reach out to colleges of minority groups. This we need to do. Continue to invest. There is investment in the STEM program, but need to be increased. Set targets, because without setting targets, we're not reaching anything. So there were targets for women, 20 by 20, and there are 30 by 30. So how about other minorities? So this has to be across the board. And this is my bio. It's not that important, but thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm ready for questions. My pleasure. Oh, we do that at the end. Okay, so I gotta go and stretch myself somewhere.
This one. No, this sounds.
This one?
Me, yes.
Yeah.
So over to Farshad now. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me today. Today I will discuss my learning about EDI through participatory research in partnership with a social enterprise. After a brief background, I will introduce a research context, which is my hometown college in Iran. Then I explain the methodology, which is participatory action research, combined with backcasting to promote equity, diversity, inclusion, and anti-discrimination, EDI-AR. Finally, I share my analysis using direct quotes to highlight the lived experiences and the perspectives from the first voice account in the context, emphasizing their autonomy and in the face of social exclusion and discrimination. This research is meant to address the gap in our understandings, local interpretations of EDI-AR and their impacts on the efforts to advance well-being. Social exclusion is an identity challenge that reduces people's engagement in society and organizations. This research findings suggest that social enterprises can help address the challenge, the identity challenge, by organizing collective effort toward inclusive futures. They also suggest that the methodology that I'm using enhances local understandings of EDI-AR and advances the well-being through community-based initiatives. The context of this study is Talesh and its ecosystems of social entrepreneurship. As you can see, Iran has a colorful ethnic fabric. The context is home to the Taleshi people, comprises people from 5 ethnic and 2 religious groups. We speak the Taleshi language among 3 other languages spoken in the region. In my home village, a social enterprise helps me administer this methodology. In community that borders Iran's neighboring country, the tensions arising from ethnocultural diversity may challenge social sustainable development. The tension impacts practices and experiences of the residents in Talesh and involve economic, political, social, security, and technical risks to the residents. The early data show the residents value diversity, which I will discuss shortly. Diversity provides opportunities for entrepreneurship in trade routes, for which Talesh can be an important role. Social entrepreneurship can facilitate realizing those opportunities to benefit the community. The early data on CRB suggests that the residents have used those opportunities in the past to revitalize the community and advance their collective well-being. The methodology that I'm using comprises collaborative and transparent cycles of planning, action, monitoring, and reflections. It embraces a hands-on social learning process and is built on unique characteristics of the context, including local knowledge, values, and demands. It involves contextualizing practices and can help fulfill local perceptions of well-being. But the backcasting component involves A, awareness to envision shared EDI-AD futures. B, baseline of capacities, challenges, and demands. C, creative, actionable path toward the futures, and D, deciding priorities toward them. This process within a community ensures its members feel engaged and stay committed to the chosen ways forward. To advance the decided policy outcomes, a course of action generally needs to satisfy 3 criteria. First, it must move the community in the right direction toward its goals. Second, it must be feasible with existing or acquirable resources while preserving strategic flexibility. And third, it must result in acceptable monetary or non-monetary returns of the community's investment of resources, including time, labor, materials, and emotion. Today, I will talk about the awareness part only. The awareness emerges from the participants sharing their memories and feelings, insights on planning for the community, visions for the futures, and how they want to be known and remembered. Awareness helps a community develop mutual understanding of desired possibilities, such as inclusive futures, and a common language to address those possibilities. Awareness combined with local sovereignty settles in formulating a set of values, goals, and missions as an indigenous or indigenized design for a sustainable development of the community. The findings highlight the fundamental role of the community members in shaping identities and creating a positive community image. Residents take pride in their cultural heritage, acknowledging the importance of social cohesion and community involvement in addressing challenges. Evidence from experiences and practices in the community demonstrate how the residents develop a sense of self-direction when building a peaceful communal life. As a result, the community develops cognitive frames from within indigeneity through which they assign legitimacy to behaviors and practices. Drawn upon indigeneity, the residents blend local leadership character and cultural trait in managing local affairs without needing external intervention. These codes suggest that a locally sovereign community develops cognitive templates for taking or leading in their cultural exchanges. Experiences and feelings of inclusivity then take shape due to these careful exchanges, like a sense of humanity that makes people behave more compassionately, so that one never feels being treated as a stranger. Inclusivity experiences combined with recognizing the equal worth of others contribute to a caring culture, neighborliness, and collective advancement of the community. Consequently, the residents consider the effect of their activities on the lives and behaviors of others. Then, reflexivity allows inclusivity experiences to extend to others and to recognize diversity in human agency and potentially in other contexts and places. These principles of fine neighborliness serve as long-standing traditions, a culture of acceptance and legitimacy in relationships in the community. With this culture, the community embraces EDI-AR in building out-group relationships. Out-group recognition is evident in various aspects of social and economic life, including marriage practices, leading to many marriages between ethnoculturally different families. Recognition is also evident in engaging outgroup members in local partnerships, trades, and recruitments. Embracing EDI-AD extends to the election of outgroup individual as the role of mayor and local councils, highlighting the community's dedication to non-discriminatory representation and governance. EDI-AD is embedded in institutions such as the family, market, and governance of the community. The daily care for the well-being of the community residents involves nurturing a caring socio-cognitive structure. It includes being mindful of the consequences of divisive, non-EDI-AD narratives on the life experiences of all residents. Divisive narratives often oversimplify societal challenges, diverting attention from root issues and hindering collective actions. Alternatively, under EDI-AD narratives, individuals prioritize the impact of their action on others, irrespective of demographic identities. Here, the legitimacy of activities is gauged through local cognitive frames of EDI-AD, shaping inclusive community practices. This research offers an alternative approach to address discrimination, shifting focus from demographic labels to action-based identities. Social enterprises can advance this kind of alternative approaches toward EDI-AD. The redefinition of inclusion criteria within local value system acknowledges indigeneity and validates community-established templates for value determination. By emphasizing action-based identities, supporting EDI-AD, engaged actors can contribute building inclusive futures. They can adopt EDI-AD principles as a guide in evaluating everyday interaction outcomes across various levels of society. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Farshad. Now we have Bukola. I'd like to call Bukola.
So thank you everyone for being here. I did promise Dolores that I'm gonna show up in Newfoundland, and I did fulfill in my promise to her. My presentation today is about promoting equity, diversity, and inclusion and anti-racism through mentorship. And I should also confess, my research manager, Lucius, put the slides together, so I may not be totally going with it. So I am I'm a registered nurse. I'm a full professor at the Cummings School of Medicine, University of Calgary, and recently became a Tier 1 Canada Research Chair in Black and racialized people's health at the institution. There are things that we know does not work in terms of anti-racism. Two things that one main thing that we know is that oftentimes with anti-racism initiatives, we do didactic education, and then we leave it at that, and we know that education alone does not work. But what are some of the things that we know does work? We know that mentorship works, having accountability in all our processes, works, and also representation at all levels also work. What I have concentrated much more in is mentorship in my career. And some of the things in terms of mentorship, I got here myself through mentorship. I was one of the first cohort, one of the early cohorts of the first mentorship program, university-based mentorship program created in Canada, was at the University of Toronto. And in 1998, I was one of those youths that went through that program at the University of Toronto at that time. So I went through the program, and I always had this, that, these people helped me to be able to see a vision for myself, expand my vision beyond, your parents are immigrants that are, working and cleaning jobs and, have master's degree and university degree, and they are not able to. So I've always had this thing about, passing on the baton. So I think someone already said in 2017, the United Nations working group of experts came to Canada and identified, justice was one of the issues they identified, and education, issues related to the education system, health systems. We also other things they identified, and from that there was some release of funding, $50 million to Black communities. About $5 million of that was to Heritage Canada, and around $9 million was to mental health of Black Canadians. So I applied for funding at that time, got $90,000 to jumpstart this in 2000. We applied in 2018, got the funding in 2019, but we didn't really start until 2020. So we created the Black Youth Mentorship Program. And at that time, I was at the University of Alberta at that time. I emailed all the faculty members, Black faculty members that I knew at the University of Alberta. And I said, can you come on board and be part of this mentorship program for Black youths? And I was able to get some of them on board. Oh, sorry. I'd like to acknowledge that Memorial University is situated in the traditional territories of diverse Indigenous people, and acknowledge and pay respect to diverse histories and cultures of the Mi'kmaq, Kinuit, and Inuit of this province. And their presence continues to enrich our vibrant communities. I am very, very mindful of broken covenants with Indigenous people, and I prioritize Indigenous sovereignty. And I also try to make things right with the land and also with each other. So I would like to acknowledge people that are funded. I honestly have not had money for this program for a while. I just get money from everywhere. They gave me an award of $250,000 because I was the best performing researcher at the University of Alberta. I put everything through my mentorship. I put everything through my mentorship program. So if you give me any money and you don't allot it to anything, know what it's going to. My startup funding at the University of Calgary, I put everything through my mentorship program. So the mentorship program seeks to socially and economically empower Black youths to contribute meaningfully to the society. And those are some of the objectives that we have. So we've had different iterations of the mentorship program over the years. The first one was in 2020. We couldn't do it in the summer, so we did it in the fall. We had about 36 youths. 10 of them were paid. Now the youths the nice thing about the mentorship program is the youths can get high school credit if they want to. We pay them, although the payment has over the years varied depending on how much money we have. The lowest has been $500 and the highest has been we pay them $15 per hour. So last summer, all the youths, we had about 45 youths last summer go through our program, and we paid each of them $15 per hour for 30 hours a week. So each of them got at the end of the summer, maybe around $3,500, but then by the time tax took money from it, it went to around $3,000. So it ranged, but the commonality in every year that we've done it is that we have the youths have a community mentor, and they have a university-based mentor who is usually a Black researcher at the university. We've got about 3 or 4 non-Black faculty members too that do that, but at least either a community mentor or a university mentor should be at least one Black. We also ground the youth in Black history. And we found that early in the game, they tend to be very, very much more because that's something they've been starving for, that no one actually tells them. And a surprise, a few surprises we've had in this is how much our outcome was not improve their sense of identity when we started this. But we realized that it actually contributed positively to their self-esteem, their self-identity as Black youths, knowing that other Black researchers are doing so much great work. So as I said, they get high school credit, we pay them, they complete papers. So we've had different iterations, and we've had between 25 and around 41 youths every year. Usually it's over a 6 weeks period. So they also complete workshops. So usually the first day of the week, on Mondays, they complete different workshops on career panel, thriving in the world of work, conducting literature searches, conducting literature review, improving your writing skills, economic skills, budgeting and finances, applying for awards, and so on and so forth. So they complete that 1 day a week, and the other 4 days a week, they spend in a lab, usually of a researcher, doing a project. So, for example, there was one that developed a list of resources for Black parents in Edmonton. And the Edmonton School Board actually took that resource and put it on their website, on their internal website, so that Black parents can actually so they do complete, there's about 4 of them that we have written opinion editorials in newspaper. So there was about 8 of them that we wrote one on educational system. There's been one that we wrote on mental health, about 2 or 3 of them. So we do like small little projects to improve. Oh, there was a time too during COVID-19 when we were looking at our strategies to solve COVID-19. We had them develop a social media campaign to address COVID-19 among Black youth. So we tend to get them to do different things. So some of the reflections is Kelly. I should actually go and talk to Kelly. She was the oldest person that has participated in our program. Is one of the most informative programs I've participated in. My participation in this program not only gave me a head start on proper academic research, but also introduced me. So now, she's in her 3rd year. I think now she'll be in her 4th year of university. So she'll almost be graduating. So we've had different students of, different caliber. There's one now that works, she's very popular in parliament as a Black youth, moving things, and now she works for a senator. We have the current president of the Canadian Nursing Student Association went through this program. So we've had a lot of them. We can't really say now that they are practicing yet because they are still in their 4th, 3rd year, the earliest ones. But many of them are doing great work in the program. I have developed a sense of pride in our fraction. I feel within our community we propel each other to strive. And that's one of the things that the youths actually also create a sense of community belonging and support each other. So they're creating a social capital within themselves to be able to leverage things forward. This was a youth that I worked with, one of my first youth. And, one of the things she said, being a person of color is before she came, she felt like being a person of color is something she had to shy herself from. And she concluded at the end, this was a reflection, being a person of color is a privilege that I now pride myself in, but I've learned that it should not be my main drive for accomplishing my goals. My love for what I'm doing should be my motivation. Because as wonderful as it is to be Black, my color is not what defines me, but my actions in my everyday life. So they get to develop a better sense, and that empowers them to be able to actually do a lot of great work. Different ways I can support myself financially. There was a youth, for example, that came into our program. She had good grades, excellent grades. And when I asked her what she wanted to do in life, she wanted to be like, she had the capacity to go to get a university degree, but she wanted to go and get a certificate at the college and become a healthcare aide or personal support worker. And I'm like, well, you can, and her real challenge is she doesn't know where she's going to get the money from. So I sat her down. My parents were rich. There's a way I did it. And I'll tell you, it's called, you responsibly get loans, but you're also prepared to be able to. So I walked her through in terms of, how to, be able to actually afford college and navigate the path towards college. So, so confidence in starting university by 9%. So the confidence in starting university increases, and confidence in starting university increased by about 23% among the youths after completing our program. So I have different data there, but we've been able to increase our participants' confidence in terms of starting university, finishing university, the sense of agency in the Black community, university entry. Now, we still have to do a more rigorous evaluation, but we've been able to see an increase in terms of university entry, their sense of confidence, their self-esteem in terms of how good they feel about themselves, leadership aspirations also increases. Sorry, my time is short. And also their positive cultural identity. So we've had about around 150 youths finish the program. In terms of what's next in the program, I don't know if we're going to get it, but we did apply for a $20 million grant to make this a national project. And yes, Dolores, because I volunteered Dolores whether or not she likes it. Dolores will be a part of it if we do get it, because we are hoping to expand this nationally. The other thing that we recently got is we got the first, I think the largest grant given to Black communities by the Tri-Council, Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council of Canada Partnership Grant of $2.5 million. It's sad, that $2.5 million is only what we've got. But $2.5 million to transform the lives of Black children and youth in Canada. And yes, Ministry of Justice is a partner on it. And we're looking at Black youth's involvement in the educational system, child welfare system, settlement issues, and child welfare, criminal justice system. And we are hoping to be able to actually transform the lives and also capitalize and expand mentorship to Black youth at all levels from high school to university and build on some of this work. Thank you so much, and sorry, fast.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Farshad. Thank you, Bukola, for your wonderful presentation, your insights and your observations. We'd like to now open the floor for some questions if you have any. For the ones who are in the room, if you can please raise your hand. We have Atinuke with us, and they'll bring up the mic to you. And for the ones who are joining us virtually, you can send your questions through comments. Mayor is observing. So any questions, up to you and to the floor.
I have one question.
Yes, please.
In terms of your youth program, thank you. In terms of your youth program, I'm interested in your age group and how did you recruit the participants?
Yeah, so in terms of our youth program, people can hear me, right? Good. The age group, so we started with a focus on high school. Now, at first, the first year, we had a age group and then we decided to scrap it. Because in the first year, I had an email from a youth that said, I am in grade 12 and I'm 12 years old. And I'm 12 years old and I am Black. He has a scholarship now in the US, a full scholarship. So I want to get into your program. So I learned very fast to scrap it. So we focused on those going into grade 11 and grade 12. So we focus on the grade that you're going into. Now, that's what we've been doing. Now, this year, we sort of expanded to also undergraduates. So this year, I have about 10 to 12 undergraduates. I trialed it in another year. In terms of recruitment, the way we recruit is we assemble now, Now we do a lot of recruitment through like people, their siblings come after, so they tell people. We also send emails, social media lists of Black organizations in Alberta. So Black WhatsApp groups, and the most popular way that we recruit from is emailing each of the schools. So we send an email. Now, some of the principals do not forward it, but we have gotten some, like high school guys. In fact, there was a time we got an email from Edmonton Police. And they wanted, some of the youths that were involved in their diversion programs, instead of them going into jail, and if they wanted to do community service, to take our program. We couldn't really, we didn't have the capacity for that because we need social workers for those type of youths. And that's why we're hoping that with the expansion, if we do get the funding that we've applied for, that we'll be able to. We send an email to all those. And then what we also do is pick up the phone call and call, but only call those in areas where there's high concentration of Black people. So we send an email to everyone, but for areas that we know there are high concentration of Black, and usually we pick about 5, 6 schools where there's high concentration, we call the guidance counselor and principal and say, we sent you something, look at it and invite. And usually every year we get around 70 applications. I think this year we got 75, between 70 and 80 applications, and we choose about 30 of those youths. Now, many of the youths that we do not choose, oftentimes it is youths that did not complete, send everything required. In the first year, sorry, now I'm talking too much. In the first year, we initially started by requiring transcripts. Now we still require transcripts, but after the first year, we realized, no, we do not use transcripts for acceptance anymore. Because, we have an advisory committee that advises us against using transcripts. So they write an essay and we base it, and 2, undergraduate students review the essay and score the essay based on motivation. We also give a higher priority to people in the higher ranges of the university level, of high school level than lower ranges. And then the main reason that many people do not get it is sometimes youth want to do what you call the summer school. And you cannot do a summer school because it's full time. You can do a summer school if you're doing our program, but you can get a credits if you just need a credit in our program.
Any more questions? Okay.
All of your presentations were really insightful. I love that. But my question is for the mentorship program. In your first year, how did you gain credibility and let's say enough confidence to apply for the funding? Because people would ask for at least I know here people tend to ask for percentages and how the rate at which you're going to change the community that you're in. How did you measure that in your first year of the program?
Yeah, we didn't actually have what do you call this? We didn't measure. I think what helped us to get the initial funding was that I had done some work on Black youth. So the first work that I did on Black youth was a project on parenting and mental health promotion practice focused on African immigrants. And from that, we started getting issues related to Black youth's poor experiences in the educational setting. So African immigrants told us we value education, we value respect, but then this is not being reflected in terms of some of the outcomes of our children because the school is telling them something else, right? So we wanted to change that. And what we did is we organized a stakeholder engagement day where we brought in stakeholders. I can, send videos, and we had about 150 stakeholders, Black parents come. And some of the work in that stakeholder engagement day was for us to develop, what is now the path forward, action, to improve. And one of those actions was implement a mentorship program to support our children, to support our youth, because they're not getting some things from the school system. So when we were applying for funding, what we basically said is we have the data, right? So I think sometimes it's good to have the data to say, our community wants this. We got information from 80 interviews with people from the community and 150 people that attended our stakeholder. And the mayor of Edmonton now was there. At that time, it was the MLA. And there was another MLA there at that time. And that is what we put forward to help in terms of getting. And if you're looking here in terms of, creating a mentorship program, it's hint RBC has funding for mentorship and support of Black people and other programs that have gotten it. They've provided funding in the past, but oftentimes you have to have some relationship with the banks.
Maybe one final quick question over there. Yes, go back.
Hi, my name is Brenda Nolan, and my question is simply in relation to research grants and the lack of statistics in and around Black applicants. I'm wondering, when I applied for a shirt grant 20 years ago, I had 3 professors help me write it. And I just wonder, in terms of mentorship, is there a piece of that might be unspoken or needs to be enlivened about how are people being mentored to write and apply for these grants? I'm sure you've thought of the answer. I just want to make that explicit.
Well, it's for me. No, you can answer. I don't believe there's no applicants. That's only applicants for Black, no stats.
Yes.
So they are not counted. With this being said, I'm not really sure where you had to pose your question, so
I guess.
Yeah.
Because we're just being schools, but mentorship, it's context. How do people succeed in this? I wonder, hoping that bar more people, more research grants and so on. So the racism that's already embedded in these institutions.
I don't think it's racism, it's overlooking a minority. So some minority that they forgot about. Why? Because maybe there is not enough applicants in that minority. In my faculty, there is very few, in 80 there is 4. In 80 professors, there is 4. That can be considered as Black. So there is very few, and normally, I did not self-identify when I applied for my first insert as Black, because to be fair, to be honest, I was worried. So, but next time I did apply when I apply, I self-identify. Because, well, I don't know about prejudice, but I knew about it when I was in the United States. I was told it exists. So anyway, I want to work with you in mentorship, by the way, if we can make it into.
Yes, absolutely. We can, yes, I will be in touch. Yeah. Don't be surprised. There's someone that I met, last week, and I said I will be in touch in Memorial. When I come to Memorial, yes, I called him, and I'm like, let's think about this, right? There's racism in the system that really prevents Black people from being able to, so I've submitted grants in the past, and people ask me, why is it Black women on the grant? I'm like, did you have some question? Why, when it was 3 white men submitted a grant, and I've also submitted a grant to CIHR in the past, and they're asking questions about, and I'm like, this is what we have in our committee. But think about it. There's racism in the review process. There's also the piece about how people get channeled. So let's think about it. Think about the last white man that came into your faculty. Okay? Now think about the last Black woman that came into your faculty. And think about your patch, or at least the last 3. The last 3, racialized, the last 3. Now, the white man that came into your faculty probably came in, and then you decided that this person is going to join the research review committee. What happens when he joins? He sees all the grants that are being done. He sees the best way to write grants. He's involved in the discussion. He knows everything about writing grants. The white Black woman that comes into your faculty higher chance that they will be referred to the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee. Okay? And what do they see in the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee? They contribute, but they do not gain back from it. And what also happens? They get hungry, right? Because they see all the crazy things that are happening that people are trying to cover up. And then you wonder in 5 years' time, you see, someone that has, the white man that has, research grants and the black doesn't, and you wonder why. We have been channeled into a position of inequity, right? So honestly, when I first came in and people said, I have been involved in over $230 million in grants, but that was because I was a chronicle for higher education addict. So when I came in, the first thing someone should, encourage me to was to join the EDI committee, and I said no. Where's the research review committee? So that I can look at all those, grants, right? So I learned very fast in the process, just like a white man will learn in the process, right? So we should think about the whole system, and yes, the CIHR does not disaggregate based on, but they're beginning to realize that there's issues in the process. I have I think my sister here is part of I have a EDI, I have a team of Black nursing faculty members across the country that I put together. And we do these workshops every now and then because there's not anyone to actually teach us some of these things. So we'll build a capacity among ourselves to be able to actually challenge the system.
We're running out of time, so I'll just no questions. Thank you so much, Mayor. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending this session. We still have a closing remarks session that's happening in the adjacent room in maybe about 7 minutes. So I'd like to request you to join us over there. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
For a name so that I can remember.
Oh.
Take a picture of your.
Oh, my ID, yes.
Yes.
And I'll do the same thing.
Oh, yes.
It was a pleasure. As a matter of fact,
Oh, really?
seriously, yeah,
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time on the net. Yeah, thank you.
On social media, but
Yes.
really.
Lisa, you see that?
Oh, I'm Lisa.
Okay. I'll see my name.
I just graduated.
My name.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, yeah. It's been a while. I've not used that. It's been a while.
Okay,
So, are you faculty?
No, I'm
trying to develop a mentorship training program.
A picture of my name and Google my name. Yes. Find it. Find my email address.
Yeah. Communication. Yes. So I'm like
Okay.
scouring for communication.
I'm on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
I can find my own soon.
Yeah, area.
They do, so I'm currently applying for their short-term, like,
I can
contractual work.
Paula.
Then,
Yeah.
once I'm in the system, I can be able to apply for like permanent position inside. So that's what I'm trying to do now, and hopefully like.
I'm Nancy.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Yeah. Yeah. It was so nice.